The day my husband handed me divorce papers with a smirk on his face was the best day of my life. Not because I wanted the marriage to end, not because I had stopped loving him, but because that smirk, that confident, cruel smirk, told me he believed he had won. He thought I would cry. He thought I would beg. He thought I would walk out of that marriage with nothing but the clothes on my back and a broken heart. What he didn't know was that 3 months earlier, before he ever whispered a single word to his mother about his plan, I had already moved faster than him. I had already protected everything. I had already built a wall he couldn't see, couldn't touch, and couldn't break. So when he slid those papers across the table and said, "Sign it, Elena. You get nothing," that was always the plan. I picked up the pen. I smiled, and I signed, because sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is let a man believe he has already won. Stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. My name is Elena, and for 7 years I believed I was living a love story. Marcus and I met when I was 26. He was charming, ambitious, and he looked at me like I was the most important person in any room. We got married after 2 years of dating. I wore my mother's pearl earrings. He cried at the altar. I thought, this man loves me completely. What I didn't know then was that Marcus had a very specific idea of what a wife was supposed to be. Not a partner, not an equal, a trophy, a convenience, a signature on documents. In the beginning, it was subtle. "Elena, let me handle the finances. You focus on the house. Elena, you don't need to work. I take care of everything. Elena, why do you want your own bank account? Don't you trust me?" And like so many women who are deeply in love, I listened. I quit my job as a marketing manager 6 months after our wedding. I managed our home. I supported his career. I hosted his business dinners, remembered his clients' wives' names, made everything around him run smoothly. And Marcus grew. His real estate investment company went from small deals to multi-million-dollar properties. We bought a beautiful house. We had investments, savings, properties in 2 states. And every single one of them was in Marcus's name. "It's just easier for taxes," he always said. I believed him. For 6 years, I believed him. Until the night I found the folder. It was a Tuesday evening. Marcus was traveling for business, or so he told me. I was looking for our insurance documents in his home office when I opened the wrong drawer. Inside was a manila folder. It wasn't labeled, but something made me open it. Inside were documents, transfer documents, property transfer documents. And as I read them, my hands started to shake. One by one, our house, our investment properties, 2 commercial units, and our joint savings account had been quietly, legally, and completely transferred to his mother, Margaret, a woman who had never liked me, a woman who called me too independent at family dinners, a woman who once told Marcus, in front of me, that he had married down, and Marcus had given her everything. Not because he loved his mother more than me, but because he was planning to divorce me, and he wanted to make sure, legally, that I would walk away with absolutely nothing. I sat on the floor of his office for a long time. I didn't cry right away. I just read the documents again, and again, and again, and somewhere between the shock and the heartbreak, something inside me became very, very quiet, and very, very clear. He thinks he is the only one who can plan ahead. Let me show him what planning really looks like. I put the folder back exactly as I found it. I went to the kitchen. I made dinner. And when Marcus came home 2 days later, I smiled at him like I knew nothing. Because the most important thing I had learned from 6 years of watching him do business, never show your hand early. The next morning, while Marcus slept, I made a phone call to the one person I knew I could trust completely, my college best friend, Diana. Diana was a family law attorney, and she was brilliant. I met her at a coffee shop 2 days later, far from our neighborhood, and I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. Then she asked me one question. "Elena, do you have any income of your own? Anything in your name at all?" And that's when I remembered something Marcus didn't know about. 3 years earlier, my grandmother had passed away. She had left me a small inheritance, $47,000. Marcus had told me to put it into our joint account. But my grandmother, God bless her, had been a sharp woman. She had whispered to me at her kitchen table years before she died, "Elena, always keep something that is only yours." A woman with her own money is a woman nobody can trap. So I hadn't put it in our joint account. I had opened a small private savings account, in my name only, and deposited it there. And over 3 years, I had quietly grown it. $47,000 had become $91,000. Small investments, careful decisions, nothing Marcus would notice. Diana looked at me across the table and smiled. That's our foundation. Here's what we're going to do. Over the next 11 weeks, Diana and I worked in complete silence. I want to walk you through exactly what we did, because this is where the story gets good. Step 1. Diana connected me with a forensic accountant named Robert. Robert specialized in exactly this: hidden asset transfers, fraudulent conveyance, financial manipulation in divorce cases. He reviewed the documents I had photographed from Marcus's folder. His conclusion: the transfers Marcus had made to his mother, done while we were still legally married, clearly intended to deprive me of marital assets, were potentially fraudulent under the law. He made a critical mistake, Robert told me. He moved too fast and didn't cover his tracks well enough. We can challenge every single one of these transfers. I almost cried with relief, but I didn't, because we weren't done yet. Step 2. With Diana's guidance, I used $60,000 from my private account to make 3 quiet, legal investments, all in my name only. A small commercial property in a neighboring town, shares in a private business fund Diana knew, and a life insurance policy with a cash value component. In my name, beneficiary me. None of it was in Marcus's name. None of it was visible to him. Step 3. I documented everything. Every transfer Marcus had made. Every dinner where Margaret made comments about my marriage. Text messages between Marcus and his mother that I had access to on our shared family plan, where they discussed the plan, openly, casually, arrogantly, because they never thought I was paying attention. They never thought I was that smart. That was their biggest mistake. By the time 11 weeks had passed, Diana looked at me and said, "You're ready. Now we wait for him to make his move." We didn't have to wait long. It was a Sunday afternoon. We had just finished lunch. Marcus set down his fork, looked at me across the table and said, "Elena, I think we both know this marriage isn't working." I looked at him calmly. "What do you mean?" I said. He reached into the chair beside him and pulled out a large envelope. He slid it across the table. "Divorce papers. I've had them prepared. My attorney says the settlement is fair." I opened the envelope slowly. The settlement offer. I was to receive $8,500, a single month's worth of spousal support, and nothing else. No property, no investments, no share of the business he had built during our marriage, the business I had supported, hosted dinners for, organized, quietly kept running for 6 years. $8,500. For 7 years of my life. Marcus was watching my face very carefully, waiting for the tears, waiting for me to break. Instead, I looked up at him, and I said, "Can I have a pen?" His eyes flickered. "Just slightly. You want to sign? I want to read it fully first," I said quietly. "But yes, if this is what you want, Marcus, I'll sign." I read through every page slowly, carefully. Then I signed my name. Elena Reyes. Clean. Clear. Unhurried. I slid the papers back to him. He stared at them, and then he smiled. That smirk. "I thought this would be harder," he said. "I'm sure you did," I replied. I stood up, took my glass of water, and walked to the window. "Marcus," I said with my back to him, "before you send those to your attorney, there's something you should know." He laughed a little, confident. "And what's that?" I turned around, and I told him. "Do you remember the Hartley Building?" I asked. He frowned. The Hartley Building was a small commercial property in Millbrook, a town about 40 minutes from us. Marcus had looked at it 2 years ago as a potential investment. He had decided against it. "What about it?" he said. "I bought it," I said. 10 weeks ago. In my name." Silence. "The Meridian Investment Fund, the private equity group your friend Daniel always talked about. I'm a shareholder now. Have been for 8 weeks." His face changed. "And the transfers you made to your mother, the house, the properties, the accounts. Diana has already filed a fraudulent conveyance claim with the court. A judge will review every single transfer you made in the last 18 months. And Robert, he's a forensic accountant. He found some very interesting patterns in how those transfers were timed." Marcus stood up. You can't. I also have her text messages, I said quietly. The ones between you and Margaret, where you discuss, and I'm quoting here, making sure Elena walks away with absolutely nothing. Those are now part of the court record. His face had gone completely white. The settlement you had me sign? I continued. My attorney says it's almost certainly going to be voided, given the fraudulent asset transfers that preceded it. I signed it, yes, but under conditions of financial fraud. Courts don't like that, Marcus. I picked up my bag from the counter. My attorney will be in contact with yours tomorrow morning. I'd suggest you call Margaret tonight and let her know those transfers may be reversed. She might want to prepare. I walked toward the door. Then I stopped. Oh, and Marcus? I looked back at him one last time. You spent 6 years telling me I didn't need to understand money, that you handled everything, that I should just trust you. I smiled. Thank you for the lesson. I learned from the best. And I walked out. The next 8 months were not easy. Marcus hired an aggressive attorney. Margaret hired her own. There were court dates, depositions, tense meetings in conference rooms where Marcus refused to look at me. But Diana was prepared for all of it. The fraudulent conveyance claim was upheld by the court. Every transfer Marcus had made to his mother reversed. The marital assets were returned to the marital estate, and then divided, legally, fairly, with a judge who had read every text message between Marcus and Margaret and was not impressed. Marcus received his share. I received mine. The house, which I didn't want to keep, was sold. I took my half. The investments, the savings, the properties divided. And my own investments, the ones I had made quietly, carefully in my name alone. Those were mine entirely. Marcus had spent years building a plan to leave me with nothing. Instead, I walked out of that marriage with more financial security than I had ever had in my life. Not because I was lucky, because I had paid attention, because I had learned, quietly, privately, patiently, from watching the most financially calculated man I had ever known. And then I had used every single thing he taught me against his plan. People ask me sometimes, do you regret the marriage? And honestly, no. Not because it didn't hurt. It did, deeply. But because that marriage taught me the most important lesson of my life. Never let anyone convince you that understanding your own finances is someone else's job. Never let love make you financially invisible. And never, ever, underestimate a quiet woman who has decided to pay attention. Marcus thought silence meant I was unaware. It meant I was working. The day he handed me those papers with that smirk, he thought he was ending my story. He was actually starting it. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Lily, and I believe that the best revenge is always, always building something they never saw coming. See you in the next one.